Cleansing, healing, regeneration, detoxification is not always easy, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it's a very difficult path to realize that you have work that you need to get done on yourself in the form of detoxification, you name it. You know, these protocols aren't like going through a drive-through and buying something off the dollar menu. It's not something that's easy, and you don't get immediate satisfaction. No. This is a very lengthy process, and after about 6 years of experimenting with various forms of detoxification, cleansing, fasting, herbs, you name it, I'm still just beginning to scrape the tip of the iceberg with cleansing, you name it, because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, there are years and years and years of abominations that we've accumulated from eating the system's foods. So anyone who tries to claim that, I got healed from a 7-day water fast, or I did a couple enemas, I don't have anything left in my system, no. The waste goes much deeper into the physiology than just the colon or, the lungs, the blood, you name it. We're talking about cellular poisoning from years of eating the bad foods, drinking the system's water, breathing the air here in the Matrix by default. Every breath you take, you're dehydrating yourself. From all the brake dust in the air, all the chemtrail, geoengineering aerosols, all of it's just amazing how much you could have the healthiest diet on the planet, but if you live in the city, by default, by proxy, you're accumulating all sorts of shit from the air. So it's unfortunate that here in this dimension, the air is so toxic. There's ways to navigate through this matrix and breathe cleaner air. That's why I always recommend people get a quality air filter for their house, their living quarters, the room that they sleep in. But even their cars, you can outfit your car if you're driving often with an air filter. The sauna is great to sit in, to open up the lungs and to get stuff out of the pores of the system. Not only are we breathing this stuff that's in the air, but it's when we by default living in these cities, the shit adheres to the skin, and unless we're utilizing the skin cleaning protocols and getting all the crap and the fungus off the skin, most people have never cleaned their skin efficiently in over 20 years. Most of the adults that I know that are over 30 years old have never experienced what it's like to have clean skin. They don't know what it feels like to experience the skin being able to breathe. So, one of the greatest ways is to sweat. You open up the pores. You can go into a sauna. I prefer to cycle on my bike, get a good sweat going. And you go home and you shower in a cold shower. And then you scrub your skin with the skin cleaning solutions. So I follow a modified version of Dr. Cassar's skin cleaning protocol. I've developed my own solution. And it's amazing to... The first time I cleaned my skin with the skin cleaning protocol, I was amazed at how much better I felt. My skin could breathe. My skin felt so much softer. So it's really crazy to think, I know many people who are over 50 years old and they've probably never experienced what it feels like to have cleaner skin. So anyways, I wanted to talk about the fact that cleansing is not peaches and cream. This is not a science. This is not an art form for the faint of heart. And many people who want to cleanse, many people who want to get into this, unless you make it pretty much your life's purpose to completely regenerate this body and cleanse all the shit out of it, you probably won't get from point A to point B. Your mind has to be completely behind cleansing. Your entire will has to be behind cleansing. It has to become your life. Otherwise, I mean, you could go on a 40-day water fast, do a ton of healing, and if you're not on top of your shit, if you're not completely behind what you're doing with every fiber of your being, you can just go back to eating the normal foods and just reaccumulate all the crap that you've eliminated. And it's going to take much more than a 40-day water fast to get rid of all the somatic abominations which you've accumulated over the years, especially if you live in the United States of America. The United States of America is the kingpin, the all-time ruler, the head honcho of disease, death, and unhealth. So it's fun, it's engaging to live in this matrix when you're unconscious, because you get to pleasure yourself with foods that resemble drugs whenever you want it. There's a fast food store on every corner. Many of them are open 24 hours a day. There's a liquor store in every corner. I mean, whatever your addiction is, even if your addictions are illegal, if you live in the framework of the city, you can find your fix. And, you know, I've had people contacting me saying that they had a bad experience with like a water enema or this and that they'll never do them again. I mean, what do you think? Do you really think that this is just going to be an easy thing to do? Do you think it's going to feel good to eliminate all this stuff? No. I've done so many different enemas, and sometimes it burns. Sometimes you feel very bloated. Sometimes you feel extreme discomfort. But that's a byproduct of you unlodging the things that have accumulated within your physiology, within your large intestine, also known as the colon. But it goes much deeper than that. The lower bowel, the small intestine, you name it. So, I mean, people who just primarily focus on colon cleansing, that's great. But what about the small intestine? So, it's amazing how long the digestive tract is. It's amazing how long the small intestine and the large intestine, when you stretch it out, it's huge. And it's windy, it's intertwined. It's like a hose, essentially, a biological living hose comprised of living tissue, living cells. And to think that you can just eat all this shit out here without it accumulating in your system, you're crazy. So if you're the type of person who approaches cleansing with the idea that it's going to feel like having an orgasm, or it's going to feel so good to cleanse, I can't wait, you're gravely mistaken, and chances are you won't get from point A to point B. Again, I'm just being honest, because if I can't be honest, what's the point of having a channel? I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you raw. Cleansing isn't not... Let's rephrase that. Cleansing is not a pretty process. No. It takes a strong individual to do what it takes to cleanse the body. So whenever I eliminated parasites, whenever I eliminated large accumulations of impacted fecal matter, mucus, candida, just waste in general, toxicity, I'm going to be honest with you, I would look at the stuff that I eliminated. And, you know, I would pull out long rope worms. I've pulled out so many different strange things out of the toilet to examine them, because as a cleansing specialist, as someone who values my health, I want to know what it is that I'm kicking out of my system. And if you think it's gross to look at what you're eliminating out of your body, you're gravely mistaken. What is so gross about looking at something that has lived inside of you for a multitude of years? That same stuff, once it reaches the toilet, was inside of you for months or years. So why is it gross to look at it once it's outside of the body? People have their heads on backwards. But, I mean, there were times when I was utilizing coffee enemas. There was one time in particular where I held the coffee enema for probably 10 to 12 minutes, and I felt this massive shift in my colon. It was very uncomfortable. And I ran to the toilet. I had my bowel movement, my elimination, and I felt something come out of me. It wasn't feces. I've never felt anything come out of me that felt like that. I knew I'd kicked something out. So I had a piece of foil next to me, a long piece, and I had a plastic fork. And I cleaned up, opened the toilet lid, and fished it out. And it was no joke, it had the consistency of rubber. I couldn't cut through it. It was about that big. It hurt so much to eliminate this, about that thick. And again, I couldn't cut through it. It had the consistency. It was as strong as rubber, ladies and gentlemen. So, and that's just the beginning. I have a video of a ropeworm I kicked out. I've documented a lot of the stuff that I've eliminated because I live in a world where I know people require evidence to believe you. So by all means, I have no problem getting on here and talking about the things that I've eliminated because I've documented about 80% of it. So unfortunately, that piece that I did eliminate, I didn't get a picture of. Some of the best things that I've eliminated out of my system, I foolishly just flushed them. So I've learned a lot from that, however, and it's smart to always keep a camera on hand because there's nothing wrong with documenting the stuff that you're kicking out of your system. In fact, it can be very beneficial to be able to look back at the things that you've cleansed out of your system, because when you look at all the work that you've done, it just helps solidify the process. And let me tell you, cleansing, real cleansing, is a form of alchemy. It's biological alchemy. I know that alchemy is a rehashed word. It's used often in the New Age realm, and that there's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of ways that people use the word alchemy in a bullshit context, but this is a legitimate, real form of biological alchemy, removing the toxicities, the wastes, and the impactions from your biology, from your physiology that are hindering your health and impeding your growth physically and spiritually. That is a form of alchemy, because alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, is a process of taking one thing and exalting it into another. You're taking something that's crude and exalting it to a more purified state. And that is what cleansing is. So there's a lot of people out here who go and to these supermarkets and get these herbal cleanses that, you know, there's so much bullshit on the market, ladies and gentlemen, even though it is from a standpoint of alternative medicine. You know, oh, there's herbs and it's going to help me cleanse. No. Herbs are the key to healing, but they have to be strong, potent herbs. And most of the herbs on the market being sold in supermarkets, they're old, they're not wildcrafted, they're not organic, they're not blended properly. And you can't just consume these herbal cleanses, these herbal capsules, and continue to eat your bad diet and expect to have some miraculous healing take place. No. The whole goal of cleansing works by removing let's put it this way. The only way, in my opinion, to effectively cleanse is to stop consuming the things that are poisoning you for a prolonged period while you cleanse, while taking things that can help accelerate the process of cleansing from a lack of eating those constituents. So, I mean, if you're trying to cleanse and you're continuing to eat the things that created the problem, there's a problem in that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why I favor intermittent fasting during the cleansing process, or fasting in general. By removing the excitotoxins, the sugars, and all the other garbage while you cleanse, you can give your body a break from constant digestion, and it can use that energy. It can utilize the energy that you would be using to digest to go into the healing process. And then you can use accelerating herbs and accelerating constituents like activated high pH coconut charcoal while you're cleansing, while you're fasting, while you're intermittent fasting, to help accelerate the body's efficiency. So essentially with cleansing, you're trying to help the body help itself. And you're just, in my opinion, you're not going to really get much results cleansing while you eat cheeseburgers and while you continue to do the things that created the problem. Although, I mean, you can have results. If you take the right herbs, encapsulated herbs, if you drink the right teas, you can eat kind of a standard American diet, or a standard American vegetarian diet, or even a standard American vegan diet, and have some pretty damn good results. If you're consuming the herbs, if you're drinking the right fluids, you can eat a lot of the junk foods And you really can fortify the body's strength if you're using the right constituents, even if you are eating kind of a bad diet. But in my opinion, that for cleansing, to me, I want to get from point A to point B as quick as possible. I don't want to spend years in this state of detoxification, because the goal of detoxification, ladies and gentlemen, is to reach a point where you're completely healed. And don't you want to get from point A to point B as quick as you can? That's not me saying you should be lusting for a result. I think learning to be patient and methodical and being okay with that is an essential part of healing. But that doesn't mean I want to be here cleansing for fucking 20 years. No. So, with the right tools, we can hyper accelerate the cleansing process. But again, I'm getting off on a tangent. Excuse me. The goal of this video was to really convey the fact that you're going to have turbulence with these protocols, especially if you're just beginning, especially if you've never done this stuff before, and especially if you have not eaten quality foods for the duration of your life. And most people who get into cleansing, I mean, they've been eating all the wrong foods for the duration of their life, all the wrong fluids. They're taking tons of medications often. And most people in this situation do not masticate their food properly. They take like 2 or 3 bites and they swallow. And over years of doing these things, you back yourself up. I am not fucking making this up. I am not exaggerating. I am not fucking trying to overemphasize or over-exaggerate. No. The truth of the matter is that you're plugged, and that if you're watching this video, you're most likely incredibly plugged up. I'm still plugged up, and I've been utilizing these protocols for a very, very long time. So, you have to remember that a lot of these foods are like glue. The white flour, the oatmeal, there's so many things that we eat that resemble glue. There's so many things that we eat that if you threw onto a wall and let it dry, it would stay there for 5-10 years. So, again, cleansing is not for the faint of heart. It's not something that's easy. And if you think that you're going to get to point A to point B and think that like the cleansing process is going to feel like this prolonged orgasm, or that you expect it to feel good, come on. Come on. People want to feel good all the time. What about embracing the fact that it's going to be difficult? What about embracing that and being okay with that? There's a lot of power in that. So I'm going to turn the camera off because it shuts off at 20 minutes, and I'm going to start re-recording part 2. Alrighty. So I'm going to wrap this one up in a few minutes. I'm not trying to make these videos too long. I want to get to the point as quick as I can. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's just interacting with people, working with a lot of people. I can see that cleansing is not going to be a very easy thing for many of these people, especially due to the fact that not only are you, when you cleanse, when you remove waste out of your system, not only are you stirring up physical toxicities and eliminating them, it's often accompanied with emotional baggage that comes up by default from the removal of these physical abominations. So, once you start eliminating this stuff, once you start fasting, a lot of the residues and the different poisons within your system start recirculating through your bloodstream so that they can be eliminated out of the eliminative channels. That can create extreme agitation, irritability, nervousness, and anxiety, panic, you name it. And oftentimes, these symptoms that people experience by default from the initiation of cleansing in the body, many people regard these symptoms as an adverse reaction from the process. So, cleansing symptoms, which are totally fine, totally natural, are often regarded as, how would I put this? Many people think that it's a byproduct of the diet that they're on or the herbs they're taking, and they think that it's unhealthy and that it's killing them. The symptoms that people are experiencing from cleansing are often misregarded by the unaware as being a negative reaction to the things that they're consuming on their cleanse. They think that their cleanse is killing them, and they automatically usually go back to their old ways. So you could have someone who was completely fascinated with cleansing, did months and months and months of research on cleansing, and just got totally interested, got to put a ton of faith in it. And then they started practicing that which they studied, and they didn't like the results that they experienced. It didn't live up to the expectations which they erroneously placed behind the process of cleansing. They didn't experience what they wanted to, so they give up. So many people who become totally fascinated with this stuff, once they start practicing it, once they start experiencing the difficulties of these processes, they just disregard it. They regard it as being trivial, unimportant, and unhealthy. So, there's a difference, like Morpheus would say in the first Matrix. There's a huge difference between knowing the path and walking the path. It's much easier to know the path than to walk the path. Most people, deep down in their hearts, they know what's right, they know what's wrong, but it's much more difficult to actually apply those philosophies and principles to one's life. So, most people know that they shouldn't be eating factory farmed meat. Most people know they shouldn't be drinking all the system's bullshit, but they do it anyway because they're used to it. It's become easy. It's become a creature comfort. It's a cultural comfort, and it's hard to retrain your muscle memory. So, our entire physiology, we've developed muscle memory engrams. We've actually developed muscle memory in relation to the traumas in our life. So it can be really easy to reach towards the pipe out of stress, because once you do smoke often, the actual habit of moving the hand to the pipe and lighting it, it actually becomes a cellular muscle memory, becomes traced into our memory bank. And that memory bank continues to fire repetitively because you find a false sense of gratification in it. And over time, it just becomes second nature. It becomes an addiction through muscle memory entrainment. So, our muscle memory here in the United States is primarily programmed for unhealthy, insalubrious things, which give us an immediate sense of satisfaction, which is outlived because it doesn't truly nourish. So, it's fun to eat a donut. It's fun to drink a liter of cola while you're doing it, but after you've got that stuff swallowed and it's in your gut, you wish you wouldn't have done it. You wish you would have had the willpower to say no. But your muscle memory is controlling your life from behind the scenes. Your mind doesn't want it, but your body's trained to consume it, even though your body doesn't want it. It's used to it. It's a drug. And once you get on drugs, they're hard to say no to, ladies and gentlemen. The land of addiction, this is the land of addiction, and it's hard to say no. So, I've still got a ton of work. I'm still learning a lot. I'm in no way, shape, or form perfect. And the more I learn, the more I realize that the less I know. And it's just crazy. There's so many things to learn. If you're not learning, you're not living. That's a quote I coined a few years back. If I'm not learning, I don't feel like I'm living. So, healing, cleansing is not an easy thing. It's not something for the faint of heart. And that's just the I wouldn't call it the unfortunate truth. It's just the truth. If you can be okay with the fact that you're going to have some turbulence, you're going to be all right in the long run. If you expect no turbulence, good luck. It's like getting on an airplane and flying through a storm and going, oh, there's not going to be any turbulence. This is going to be easy. This is going to be fun. No. Again, if you can be okay with the fact that it's going to be difficult, if you can embrace that and learn to accept the difficulties and enjoy them, you're going to be so you're gonna be able to you're gonna be able to tackle this thing head on. But there's a lot of pampered people who just want to feel good all the time. That's what this culture teaches you to expect. This culture teaches you to expect to always feel good, to always be gratified, to always have at your fingertips a handful of different stimulating things that you can constantly keep yourself busy with, because you can't be alone and sit in the fucking silence. You have to always stimulate yourself to feel alive. Most people here in this matrix find it difficult to sit alone without moving with their eyes closed for 5 minutes. So that shows you how much difficulty we experience. That shows you how much of a lack of peace we experience collectively as humans here in America, where you can't even sit alone in a meditative pose and focus on your breath for 5 minutes without your mind being filled with so many different distractions. Try it. Try sitting upright in a cross-legged position on the floor. Close your eyes, breathe through your nose, and just focus on your breath with your hands on top of your knees, with your spine completely erect. Try to completely empty your mind and see what happens. Chances are you can't just focus on your breath. Things are going to come up in your mind, little visions, or you're going to start hearing things, or you'll just become overwhelmed with certain emotions. Set a timer and don't open your eyes for 5 minutes. See what happens. Most people cannot do this. I sometimes have difficulty doing it as well. And it shows you just how much of a lack of peace we have. Then don't do it before you're about to fall asleep. Do it during the middle of the day. It's easy when you're completely exhausted and ready for bed to close your eyes and just drift off to sleep. Try to do it at high noon. See what happens. So by actually sitting in the silence like that, you can really tune in and witness how you've been programmed. Because when you try to sit in silence and remain silent, you can actually hear your programming. Your programming and your conditioning is what let's put it this way. When you try to sit in silence and just focus on your breath, all those different emotions that you feel that try to distract you and persuade you to become agitated and get out of your meditative perspective, those emotions, those thoughts are the things that are programming you from behind the scenes when you're conscious. But when you sit down and try to meditate, you can actually experience those programs. They are the things that are trying to distract you out of sitting in the fucking silence and being content. And those things are manipulating us behind the scenes, and those emotions are actually interweaved cellularly into our biological, physiological, muscle memory, engrams, and programming. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot of work, and there's a lot of cleansing that needs to be done within the mind, within the heart, within our souls. Because it's not just, I just removed some poisons from my system, I'm healed. No, what about the things that are manipulating us from behind the scenes? What is it that causes 99% of Americans to not be able to meditate for 30 minutes without coming out of it feeling agitated? What is it, ladies and gentlemen? What is it that's keeping you from being able to sit in the silence and completely empty your mind? If you can't completely empty your mind, it means that there's something occupying your mind. And those things that are occupying your mind are usually not good things, ladies and gentlemen. They are usually psychological things that are enveloped around our addictions. So, it really is a crazy world, but I love living here because there's a lot of work that needs to get done. Not only to the dimension that we live in the environment, but our own personal environment. It's amazing how much potential we have, but it's amazing how many roadblocks are standing in front of our potential. And I'm not going to get on here and say, but you can't focus on the roadblocks. You can't focus on the walls in front of us. That's what creates the problem. No. The problem is that we don't focus on the things that are in front of us that are hindering us. We want to think that everything is going to be okay or that everything's all right. Don't focus on the problems. That only makes them bigger. No, focusing on the problem is how you get past the problem. Because the problem is presented with a set of challenges. And if you don't acknowledge those challenges by focusing on them and creating a plan of action to get over and around these challenges, how are you going to just, I'm going to imagine everything's going to be okay and I'm just going to use the law of attraction and everything will be okay because I focused on it. And what the fuck? The New Age movement has done a great job of making people just wishful thinkers who don't apply the law of action. So yeah, there's the law of attraction, but what about the law of action towards achieving those things? Just everyone wants $1 million to just fall out of the sky, right in front of them, right in front of their feet. They don't want to do what it takes to manifest things. They just expect them to manifest. My whole approach towards manifesting things is let's work on cleansing our body. Let's work on manifesting a state of health. Once we achieve real health, real Kundalini, that's when things will start manifesting. But most people would rather use the law of attraction to attract huge sums of money for themselves. They'd rather do that than use the law of attraction to attract enlightenment or attract, food for everyone in this dimension. It's amazing how selfish most people's desires are when they're using the law of attraction. I want this, I want that, I want a new car. What about using the law of attraction to manifest a better, cleaner environment for everyone to live in, where everyone can have a full belly? You want to use it so that you can get a new car? What the fuck is the matter with you? There's so many spiritual morons out here. So many people who use spirituality to just try to achieve a greater state of mundanity. It's just amazing. Using the law of attraction to attract objects so that they can increase their sense of physical confidence or dominance here by getting a fucking sports car or this and that. What about helping others? What about helping the animals? And I'm not saying that it's wrong to attract things that can make you feel better, but I mean, come on, you have to know what's truly good for you and what's truly not. You need to want what you need and you need to need what you truly want. And most people want things that they don't really need. And they think they need things that they want even though they don't actually want them. So, I hope that sums it up. I've kind of gone off on a long tangent here. I'm just trying to get the point across that don't expect cleansing to be easy. If you think it's going to be that way, you're completely mistaken. It takes a lot of work to remove these accumulations. And it's like I said, not only are there physical accumulations, but what about the mental accumulations? This is something that we don't really focus on heavily within the realm of cleansing. It needs to be focused on more. And the only way that you're going to be able to cleanse your mind, in my opinion, cleanse the things that are ruining your life through the emotional plane, you name it, is through trying to sit in the silence. Sitting in the silence and listening to yourself breathe, you'll be able to focus on the emotions that get stirred up while trying to sit in that state of silence, and you'll be able to witness those emotions as if you were standing outside of the box looking at them from a different perspective. So by looking at and feeling your emotions through meditation, through trying to silence the mind, you begin to get a firm grip on the things that are manipulating you from behind the scenes. There are emotions that are tied into muscle memory, physical addictions, often. There is a spiritual aspect to this. Some people have ethereal passengers, astral passengers. Many people are possessed. But that's a topic for a completely different rant. On behalf of the Sacred Starseed Serpent Uraeus YouTube channel, my mouth is incredibly dry. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope that my videos, my messages, and my channel and my passion can help inspire you to rekindle the flame in your heart today for your health. I hope that my messages, my channel, and my passion can help inspire you to approach cleansing from a tougher perspective of the fact that it's not going to be easy. Nothing good comes easy. Things of worth are often difficult. And just as Morpheus says, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. You could know the path your whole life and pass away never applying it. So with this channel, I like to try to inspire people to take action today. So I hope that this message can help inspire you to do something positive today for your health, whether that be drinking more water, walking barefoot on the earth, getting some electrons into your meridian system, into your tissues, some negative charged electrons by walking on the bare earth. Maybe you can drink some cayenne pepper or just do something fucking interesting. Break the mold of what you're used to. That is the first step towards reprogramming and deleting the muscle memory programs that are manipulating us from behind the scenes. Peace be with you.